Hello there, 40k fans. Welcome back to FloridaMan40k. This is Jimmy Prescott. With me today, the regulars, Mr. John, the beautiful face Lennon.
Aww, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
And also Dan, I wish his beard covered his whole face, Smith.
In time, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But got rid of my worst features, so we're just moving up.
Slowly.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
well,
it's a chin joke. I don't actually have a chin. True story.
But no one knows.
Ed and Eddie, and you know which Ed I'm talking about.
One of the
Sorry.
three.
No one can tell now. You're safe.
Yeah. So we've got just a little bit of stuff to talk about. I mean, not a whole lot. Pretty uneventful past week or so. But I mean, if there is something you feel like talking about, Lennon, we might as well. So whatever.
You know, it's good to be back. When I like hearing your voices. I like having something to talk about again. Just whatever that something is.
Yeah.
Ninth edition.
Ninth edition? What? There's a ninth edition?
There's a ninth edition. Oh. It's like 8th edition, but newer.
But a higher number.
Ooh. Never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
It's powered up.
It's over 8.
No, it's actually to 9,000 now. It is at 9,000 editions. Yeah, it's only 9,000 FAQs. 9th edition got announced. Everyone has opinions, and ours are more important than other people's. Isn't that right?
I don't know if they're more important.
Yeah.
They're not.
They are.
Can we just, on the show, they are? Just
Yes.
like for the next hour of recording, they're more important. Other than that, I agree. Not really.
All right.
No, not even for the next hour.
Not even for the next hour.
If you'd like to stay here and listen to our shitty opinions, you're welcome for the next hour.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, I'm always a pessimist, so my opinion literally doesn't matter, so I'm just going to complain.
That is true. But you know what? I wanted all sides of this argument, including the wrong one, so we brought Dan on anyway.
Ooh.
I mean, if I admit that it's the incorrect opinion, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway.
You don't have to admit it. Everyone will know when you say it.
Anyway.
There's, no matter how salty you are, you still got to admit the trailer they put out, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I especially like that they smushed people. That was satisfying. Smush, you're gone.
Wow.
Honestly, favorite part might have been that they actually showed off what a Gauss weapon does. They've always described the Gauss weapon as it's a flare. It just peels your molecules apart. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a bad way to go, but does it Thanos snap them? What really happens there? It looks particularly unpleasant.
Yeah, there's a good solid 2 seconds of pain before you die.
It did look pretty darn rough. That looks like
really
a bad
good
way to go.
Deal with the Space Marine, though, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with all those hearts. You just kind of rip them all apart at once.
Zoop. You just kind of slurp them out of existence.
Yeah. Lorp is a really good name. Word for
Zlorp.
That. Zlorp.
Yes.
You just got Zlorp, son.
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently Sisters are Zlorp proof because they just believe that hard, which I'm okay with. I play Sisters, so I am down to be immune to Gauss weaponry.
Sisters of Battle are literally the orcs of the Imperium.
Hey, you know what? In a certain point of view, they are. They believe that the Emperor is going to make them pass those saves, so you just kind of make it happen sometimes.
Okay.
Passing 6 up saves with Miracle Dice, oh, so good. So yeah, we're excited. I don't know. I'm very optimistic, and I'm always Dan's always the pessimist. I'm always optimistic. Literally everything except for free transports in a battle company that GW has done has made me happy. So I'm kind of still just okay, this is going to be good. I believe that they are not going to mess this up somehow. Honestly, just the fact that they put that much effort into this cinematic trailer, that honestly is a good sign, I think. Because like if you've looked at like the darn Ultramarine movie that came out 9 years ago, it's probably more than that. It's probably like 10 years ago. It came out a while ago, and it was like just a hot, smoky dumpster trash. I'm willing to bet at least one of you doesn't even know that movie exists.
Is that the one where it's like partial live action and like mostly CGI around faces and stuff?
I don't think there was any live action in it that I'm aware of, but I could be wrong, and I only watched half of it once.
Ah. Well, I don't have any more exposure other than that, so I guess not.
Yeah. But anyway, it's kind of cool to like see them do something like, everyone was talking about the Astartes fan film, which was awesome and great, and I'm really glad they made it. But it's nice to see GW make something kind of on that same level, possibly even better, depending on who you ask. But at the very least, it's, it holds up very well. Just in general, it's like other cinematics that, like the trailers you see for like World of Warcraft, all that crap. It's kind of cool to see GW put one out for 40K.
Yeah. Whenever it was sent to me, I was imagining just more moving pictures with like a fake accent. Like,
yeah, kind of like the little
war, as like kind of like shadow goes over a still picture. Yeah.
Yeah, like how they do the
craft.
It pretty much is.
Every
it's
other
actually a
release
stop
video
motion.
ever.
It's
like
a stop motion while like the
Reapers?
Space Marine waddles forward.
You remember the Ossiarch Bone Reaper preview where it was literally just like League of Legends loading screen type backdrop with just a little bit of like flickering, and it was just like, come on, dudes. You're announcing a brand new faction, you're totally teasing it as Tomb Kings, and you can't even give us like more than a little flickery like college student did it for extra credit.
Instagram filter.
But it got them a B, you know what? It got them a B.
True.
So seeing the little extra effort out of Games Workshop, for me at least, went a long way in building the hype.
So where I really appreciate their effort was in their logo. I mean, they centered that thing perfectly. There's no unnecessary overlap.
Fix that. Okay. So like the logo that they showed on their website is centered fine. It's just like in one of the videos, it's like slightly off center, and it's already fixed.
Oh no, I've seen it like literally everything except for in that cinematic video. Everything I've seen with the new logo has had the messed up R.
Whatever. Well, it's an easy fix. I'm sure. We'll see if it's actually correct on the printers. If it's right on the printer, I'm not going to care. But if they just resized it and slightly messed it up for a video, there are worse things in the world.
Where they were wrong was signing off on that logo to begin with, because that logo is just like lame.
I like how they
dislike it, actually.
In the release article that they gave, they were like, "Yeah, we have a new logo. I'm glad you noticed. I'm sorry if it invalidates your tattoo." It's like,
yeah, that I liked. That's
great.
At least one person has that. But you know what? Now I'm going to get maybe I'll get both. One on one on each arm. Yes, one on each cheek. Well, I mean, that's actually where I was going to put the two heads of the Aquila, but yes. Let's go with that instead. I don't know, I thought the new logos, I think it's fine. But again, complete GW fanboy, not going to even pretend that they could possibly make a mistake like they did the last 10 times.
No.
Not a chance. This time it's good. Just you guys wait.
Yeah. So my approach, I absolutely hate Games Workshop and everything they do, except that I love their stupid models and their stupid game. And it's
their stupid game is so good.
I know. And it's like this horrible addiction because I hate it. And every time I try to go away, it's just like, hey, but look at this cool Chaos Knight, or hey, look at, and then I'm back and I'm burning money and all this time and resources. And I'm just like, dang it, I did it again.
There's no escape, Dan. You should know by now.
They're raising prices again. They're just, I don't know. I'm not trying to complain too much because I actually do have a lot of optimism for Ninth. Because what the murmuring I've been hearing is similar to going from Age of Sigmar to Age of Sigmar 2, where there was a lot of cleanup more so than changing the game. And that's needed. 8th edition has infinite spore mines and unkillable lash whip tyrant guard. There's certain things that are just wrong that they need to fix. So I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I've been through multiple edition changes for both 40K and Fantasy and Sigmar, and most of the time it's just a crapshoot for the first 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think 8th edition took less than 6 months to crapshoot out. I feel like GW is getting a hang of the FAQ thing. What's that?
Yeah. It was just like basically the first major event where they have the top tier competition pick their game apart. That's usually when they figure out what they did wrong. And I know they have like the playtesting team and they're doing a lot, but there's almost, when you're playtesting and communicating with Games Workshop, I feel like there's the idea of the intent of how this is supposed to work. But when it's just a blank slate, here you go, these are the rules, have fun, it's a lot easier to break the game. Because you don't have any preconceived ideas of how things are supposed to work. You're literally just, let's optimize everything.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to take to rear 9th edition in. And that's why usually I kind of sour for the first couple months of a new edition.
Yeah, and I think I imagine that the virus situation will change things a little bit for 9th edition, where I think we'll have less of a Wild West time period. Like I'm sure that the first real GT will still somehow bring about some combo that none of us saw coming, despite playing, all of the Garage Hammer and doing nothing but listening for podcasts while we work from home. Somehow we're still going to be surprised. I just think there's going to be less of that than normal. And Games Workshop has only been getting better and better about responding. And I also imagine that the playtesters are getting better and better at their jobs. That's just a thing that naturally happens. So I'm optimistic. I think it'll be good. We'll talk about some of the rules that have been previewed. They have said some things, but also we only have it in a vacuum. We don't have it in context, and we don't know 95% of it still.
Yeah. I will say, you're not going to hear any of the secret cheese on a podcast. If someone finds a way to break the game, like the Broviathan, literally your teammates aren't going to know until LVO. Like that's.
We told you.
I know.
I was at LVO and I didn't know that was happening.
We definitely talked about it
with Space Marines, literally the list minus the Leviathan that I'd never heard of before, and I am in Brohammer. So that was some secret.
We definitely told you about this.
No, I never heard about it. Nobody even told me there was a Space Marines chat until I was getting off the plane with Will, and he's like, "Why'd you bring that? Where's your Leviathan?" I'm like, "I don't even know what the hell that is." And then, yeah, that's how that turned out.
Nah, I'm like 99% sure we told you about this. Anyway.
That wasn't my intent of this conversation. No, I do like to throw a little bit of shade.
I think early edition stuff gets brought up pretty fast, though. There's no stakes. It's not like we're trying to hide it. If LVO happens this year, which we'll knock on wood there, it'll probably have a little less meaning and be a little smaller than other years. So I don't know, and I think it will be known. And even then, it's better to playtest. It's usually better to playtest things than otherwise. I think the Leviathan was just a very specific exception.
Yeah, but remember when 8th edition came out at ATC? There was the Brimstone list was the one that people kind of had figured out, but the Razorwing Flock Spam and the Oops All Flyers lists, a very select group of people and teams brought those lists and nobody else had them. And that's just what I mean is it's that type of skew or break in the game. And the game's bigger now. We have more people playing and more people playing competitively and more people meta chasing. So I don't think there's going to be 5 lists like there were at the beginning of 8th that are just completely broken that nobody knows about. But I do think there's probably going to be 1 or 2 that slip through the cracks and win the first 2 or 3 major GT and major size events of 9th edition.
Yeah, probably. And GW has indicated that they are rebalancing points in the context of 9th edition. I don't know if it's going to be a comprehensive repointing of every unit or if they're just redoing a couple things, but they're doing some stuff. So for example, maybe the core rules will make the fly keyword less powerful than it is now, maybe then they would go and they would lower the points cost of Vespid and drones and assault marines and like all of the units that fly. They'd like make some kind of changes to that. Or maybe the monster keyword just becomes so OP and they just raise the price on all Tyranids for some reason.
Yeah. Oh no.
Hopefully not that one. Hopefully not that one.
I'd heard a few months ago that they were changing the point scale, and this may have been something already discussed, and people have thought that they already did it in the previous codexes, but where
I've heard that rumor.
Yeah, it was like the baseline used to be a tactical marine, but now they're changing the baseline to like the 18 point or whatever Primaris Marine, because that's like your base troop now.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it like basically
that's
changes
possible, but
the
like,
ratio of the whole game.
Yeah, GW definitely hasn't announced that. They've mentioned points changes, so I kind of hope that they redo all of the points in the game all at once.
Yeah.
Just for a clean slate kind of thing. Like I feel like sometimes the chapter approved they don't bother changing things that probably could be changed, because it's like not like overly broken, but also isn't, really so terrible that they just feel the need to buff it. And also some terrible units just kind of get passed over and never get repointed because GW just hasn't cared enough to do it. Like how, the Harridan from Forge World. They just haven't bothered to change the points cost of a Harridan.
They care a lot more about bringing stuff down in power level instead of raising things up normally. Now, sometimes they'll revamp a whole codex, but generally what I see is they care about bringing stuff down, which is good, because if you just keep bringing stuff up, you hit power creep worse than we already get. What I will say, kind of to what Jimmy was saying too, is a lot of the articles I've read, they basically are saying like, don't get rid of your tactical marines, they're still going to be used, but yeah, Primaris Marines are the core of the game. Like, so it wouldn't surprise me if their intent is to have, like, I don't want to say armies that feel like 5th edition, but in Primaris, but kind of like that. So like, you might have 2 HQs and 3 troops choices, and you max out the troop squads, and you have 2 tanks, and like, that's a solid list. And we've had variations of that in 8th edition, just like with Insane Power Spike. It's like 40 intercessors and a repulsor executioner, like 3 impulsors, whatever. But I feel like they kind of want to get back to that feel of the game, because that feels more like a battle. And when you have, or like a horde of orcs is cool, backed up by a couple pieces of tech. But when you have all these skew lists, the armies on the table don't look how Games Workshop wants you to collect. Like, they have an idea in their head of what an army should look like, and then the power gamers, myself included, we just optimize and leave off all the units that they want to see on the table, because these couple corner cases are super powerful. And I think they're trying to shift back into a display army is a competitive army.
Yeah, I think they're definitely doing that with pure stuff. So things that they have announced and is actually known, even if we don't know how it's going to function. We know that they are whatever it's called. They're redoing how detachments work and how we get command points. So from what they've said, it sounds like every army starts off with the same number of command points, and you instead spend the command points on detachments rather than receiving them. So, for example, and especially allies. Like if you want to have, I have no idea if this is correct. But let's just say the base is that everyone starts with 20 command points, and I just literally made that number up, so I'll pretend it's accurate. And then you go around and it's like, oh, well, you want to take a battalion, spend 1 command point on that. But maybe you want a spearhead, and maybe it's 3. And then that's how they incentivize you to take troops. So maybe just having less detachments is good, but then each detachment only has so many slots in it, so you can only take 2 or 3 heavy supports, or maybe it's 4 now. I don't know what they're going to do, but stuff like that. But then every different faction you buy is going to require different detachments. So if you want a guard detachment and a sisters detachment and a knight, suddenly you're spending command points on allies. So it's not that they're removing soup, but you you will be spending less command points if you are not souping your army, is what it sounds like they're doing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're creating an opportunity cost for the power of your army. So, and I think they kind of the Assassins sideboard, they saw how popular that was. Basically, you get an extra detachment at the cost of CP, and it was used competitively until they increased the price of Assassins, and they increased the price of the stratagem, and they incentivized bringing mono faction. Like, multiple things happened for people to not take that opportunity cost. So they saw that as a big success and said, if we apply this to the game, it'll create a balance because you're rewarded for staying pure, but you have a cost-benefit analysis to see if shoring up the weaknesses is worth the opportunity cost of the command point. So it leaves optimization in there, but rewards pure players, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Gotta break out the chastity belt.
Gotta stay pure, Jimmy.
Yep. It's the only way to win these days.
Unfortunately, I don't know if my sisters are going to be able to stay pure. I really like having allies with them, but whole edition's going to change. So anything I see in the context of 8th probably is going to be actually measured very differently by the time we get there.
And that's okay. That leads to an interesting discussion because list theory right now should be pretty, I would say about 60% coherent still, because they're telling us all our codexes are going to be the same, or we're going to be able to use them, just like going from 6th edition to 7th edition or whatever. Like there's an overlap period. So your units are still going to function mostly the same as far as we know. Points could change, and core rules changing, as you know, increases and decreases the strength of certain units. Like Smash Captain went from being auto-include to never include to back into a lot of good competitive lists. He didn't change. The rules around him changed. So in that vein of things, you can still study your codexes and study the Psychic Awakening and understand certain things are going to function. Like the Intercessor is getting to be White Scars for a turn from the Vigilance detachment. That style of tech will exist in some capacity. Don't forget about it. Just think, 9th edition, throw this book away. But you might be limited in how many Warlord traits you can get or how to activate them. Or there could be limiting factors that make that more or less useful, but it's still going to be a component in the game. So it's something there's still stuff to study and improve while you're waiting for 9th edition to drop.
Yeah, and definitely compared to the 7 to 8 transition, I think playing 8 is more viable because it's not a hard reset like that. And I get it, if you're not playing games right now, yeah, it's probably a fine time to be doing that. But, in my position, I am able to play games, and I will continue to be playing games on 8th edition. So at this point, I'm just, I'm still just going to keep kind of playing my thing. I'm just going to be testing out weird stuff, a couple different armies. Certainly no one is really trying to be competitive right now. But I'm going to keep playing with my White Scars, just to get, a better handle on stratagems, their pure rules, because I imagine combat doctrines will still be there for better or worse, I don't expect that to just get removed.
Well, their Games Workshop is going to see what you're doing and specifically remove what you're doing, so.
Fine. But I'm going to start playing Tau then. Remove Tau.
They just not, they're no longer in the web store. They're just gone. They don't exist anymore.
You have no idea how happy that would make me.
I had something I was going to bring up, and then I forgot, so I just contributed a whole bunch right there in that solid 30 seconds that I've been talking.
Who you guys want my hot take on this new edition that I don't know anything about yet?
Well, to be fair, none of us know anything about it either, so heck yeah.
Here I go. Buddy. Okay, so coming more from a perspective of a wandering player, I don't necessarily have I get at this point I do have a stupid attachment to 40k just because of how much money I've spent on armies and stuff. I seriously couldn't separate myself from my collection without giving it away or spending 6 months trying to hawk stuff online. So not having the, I don't know, constitution for that situation. It's just going to stay in my model room, and that makes me feel this obligation to play. But I don't necessarily like the game of 40k that much. Like, I never really have. I like the community. It's very clearly like the biggest and strongest community around, because it's been around for so long.
That was wonderful.
Yeah,
we're leaving that in. Don't worry. It's
all right. I just felt myself going down that same like train of speech, so I had to take advantage of it. So yeah, so it's like the biggest game around. Really, you can go and find a local event like any weekend, no matter where in the country you live, for the most part. But whenever I was playing games like Infinity and stuff like that, like you get together and it's kind of like beer and peanuts type game, but you don't necessarily have that same competitive drive or availability in the area. So like that's really the reason that I play. So whenever there are big changes that like worry me, it's more obvious to me what I don't want to have to deal with, I guess. So like having come in before with a Tyranids army right before Adepticon like 2 years ago, I spent like $2,000 on a Tyranid army to get into the game without a lot of knowledge about it, because everybody's like, yeah, this is super good right now. And then they won Adepticon. They stalled. Tyranids won Adepticon. GW was about to release a fax and FAQ right after that weekend. And they literally were like, oh, hold on. We have to stall the FAQ because of these results. And then the next week they overhauled points changes to the Tyranids to increase their points. They made it to where you couldn't deep strike on turn 1. You could only deep strike on turn 2, which is what the meta at the time was, the flying hive tyrants who could deep strike, and then you ran like 6 of those, so they were like also like you can only play 3 of a unit unless it's a troops choice. So like all of these things of my optimized list got eradicated literally like 2 weeks after I spent too much money on that army. So ever since then I've had this like weird taste about how Games Workshop handles their rules changes, because they just obliterate things. It's almost like they just kind of like wander forward and don't really think about what they're doing when they make rules. Like to the point where I just imagine them like that cartoon villain twirling their mustache, like doing just enough to make the players feel like they care about the game, but in reality they're just like raking in handfuls of cash. So whenever you see a change like this and they're like, yeah, a whole bunch of stuff's changing, when I feel like 8th edition really just found its place, in my opinion. Like where the new ITC rules that were released right before we all got trapped in our house and all that really seemed to click, and then also helped out because Gene Stealer Cult got that really nice list with the buggies, so model I really like, army I really like. I felt like I really had an opportunity. And then, you know, competition ended, and now it's like, oh, who knows what's going to happen in 2 months? Like, no idea. When there's a change like this, and they say, yeah, you can use your codexes from 8th edition, but we all know that there are going to be points changes and the fundamentals of the game are changing. In my opinion, a game company who's planning on just flipping the table every once in a while like that needs to put the work in to be allowed to do that. Where if you want to release 9th edition, cool. I hope you have a full line of codexes to release all at the same time, so we're all on the same footing. Because Games Workshop tends to be like, alright, here's new Necron rules, and then the Necrons just blast the crap out of people for a month and a half. And then I could spend another $2,000 on a Necron army, and then the next week, Adeptus Mechanicus, they have a new codex. Necrons are literally useless. Like, I just hate that scheme, and this just feels like a part of that. That was a long rant. But
it was, but you know, I wasn't going to cut you off. You were flowing.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's just like, dang it. It's like if Games Workshop wants me to play a new game, I would rather go and find and play a new game. It's just it's literally only the community that's keeping me attached to this one.
Yeah. I am very fond of the 40k community, but I do also just kind of love the IP in general. I'm a sucker for the Grimdark. I actually read the book.
Yeah.
It's actually, you know, forge a narrative, but...
So it kind like, I think I'm kind of in between, because, like, I fully acknowledge that Games Workshop business model is, as long as the game is volatile, they sell more kits. Once the game evens out, people are going to play with the optimized stuff they already own, and they're not going to sell as much. So they want to keep the game volatile to make money. So, like, that is frustrating because you're in a constant volatile state of having to acquire new stuff, paint new stuff, learn new stuff, if you want the chance to compete consistently. On the flip side, like, I absolutely do, like, I love the models and I enjoy the IP. It's kind of like Apple products, and I love that topic because so many people are so polarized on Apple. Their products are great, their company sucks. Like, their business model is, we're cool, buy our stuff, it breaks every 2 years. And it's basically the same thing Games Workshop does, is we're cool, buy our stuff, but every 3 to 6 months, whatever you're playing, get rid of it and buy something. So I totally get it, because, like, when you have the monopoly, because, like, Games Workshop's the only company that makes Games Workshop products, so they have a monopoly. They can do whatever the crap they want. And because of that, they're going to do whatever makes them the most money. Like, that's just what businesses do. I can't fault them for it, but because I enjoy their product, it pisses me off because I have to constantly be spending money to stay competitive. So, like, their business model's totally working. I acknowledge that it's working on me, and I hate it, but I'm still playing the game, so I'm still spending the money, and, like, I acknowledge what they're doing, but I'm succumbing to it, basically, because I love the game. And that's, I think, kind of what you're recognizing, Jimmy, but you don't really enjoy the game even. It's just the community around the game. And, like, saying you don't enjoy the game, I think is kind of saying it the wrong way. I think, like, events and playing you enjoy, but it's the everything else around it, I think, is kind of what makes it sour.
Yeah. I kind of get tired of the whole, like, reading through all the codexes and all that stuff in the meantime as well. I don't have any passion to, like, write the lists, I guess I should say. Where, like, there's another game where, and I think it might be because I'm not as interested in the IP, because I played HeroClix before, and, like, the company that owned that game, NECA, was even worse. Like, they release stuff all the time, nothing's ever balanced. They don't ever go back to it because it's all printed directly on the figure. So, like, that game is tumultuous and crazy. But I love superheroes, so it was easy to be, like, invested every day. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to make a Justice League theme team. But I've tried to get into 40k lore. I, of course, read the codexes I have. I've tried to read some of the novels. It's kind of just like edgelord sci-fi, where it's like, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen? That's what's happening all the time. And not because it's cool, but just because that's, like, they have to be able to do it so they could slap Grimdark on it. Like, I don't know. That's...
Yeah, I think, like, I don't know. They progress the story very slowly for the model line, and, like, what are you gonna do? Kill the heroes and pull their models from the, like, game? Like, you can kill the heroes, but I don't know. It's obvious there's no end because they aren't going to just choose to end their game. So it's like that whole, I don't know, like, yeah, because for me it's kind of hard to get into the stories, but the models are cool, so I don't care. But they don't, like, the stories, I feel like, can be predictable or,
basically, if a Space Marine with a name shows up, everybody's gonna die. Like, that Space Marine will get through it. Like, whenever I was reading the Tyranids Codex, I don't even remember the name of the guy, but the same Space Marines captain dude fights a Hive Tyrant twice and beats him, and it's just like, that's literally the evolution of an entire species designed and embodied to kill one man, and he fucking kills it twice. It's like, this is stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, but
the Emperor protects, brah.
Yeah, true. Whatever.
So, Lennon, would you like to interrupt our negative circle jerk with some positivity about why this game is awesome?
I'm excited to see how they advance the background, because it's been moving more in the past 3 years of 8th edition than in the 10 years prior.
Absolutely. That is very true, yes.
And I get that they're not going to move it towards an actual ending, per se, but I still enjoy it going forward. I hope that they kill a couple more characters, not going to lie. They're just never going to kill an Ultramarine one. We just have to understand that.
Yeah. I think Game of Thrones, people enjoyed it because they killed characters that you were attached to, and now everybody's like, well, why don't we do that in all of our media? And it's like now everyone hates the plot armor like more than we did before.
I really do hate the plot armor right now.
Grim dark universe. It's like people should be dying all over the place, and not just the nameless people.
Honestly, Gazgul and what's his face literally kill each other, and it's like, just kidding. It's okay. Gazgul literally gets decapitated, and it's like, nah, we'll just stick him in some armor. He's good. Yeah. And it's like, oh, our space puppy, he got hurt, so we just made him a Primaris space puppy. Or they both die, and some new guy steps in and is bigger and badder and darker, and why not just do that? I have this really cool model design. So instead of it being Gazgul but bigger, make it some just BA war boss that just shows up and is get out of here, punk, and takes over. Why not do that?
I mean, that would be pretty orky. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm with you. I hope they axe a couple Spaceman characters.
Yeah.
They don't win every fight. There's in some of the lore, what is it? But even then, it's there's always ridiculous ways for them to still survive. Is the kind of annoying part.
People eat it out all the time.
Yeah, it's very much comic book cliche, but there's some stuff where the Necrons managed to piss off the Black Templars. So the Black Templars, go and attack, and they board the ship, and then Emotech is just he's all right, are we still playing this game? So he just goes up to their chapter master, beats the crap out of him, cuts his arm off as a lesson, and then just leaves him alive and just leaves the ship. And it's okay, but he could have just killed him. Once you defeat the chapter master, he's lying broken on the ground. You don't just grab his arm and chop it off. You can finish the job real quick.
Yeah, or even if you do that and that's why the character lives, it's one thing. But it's oh, you only stabbed one of my heart, so I'm laying here, and now this Imperial Guardsman just jumps up and get back, Swarmlord, and carries me away.
No, yeah.
No,
my heart.
If I'm sending a message, the Yarrick, Commissar Yarrick, the orcs let him go because it's fun. That is cool. That's cool.
I like that one. Yep.
Chopping someone's arm off and saying, get out of here, we won. I can deal with that. But the heroic intervention and saving someone every single time is no.
I hear Dan becoming more passionate about this. And then in the meantime, Age of Sigmar is just all those heroes that you've loved for the past 30 years. Yeah, they're all gone. I love
murder them.
How of course the ones from the popular factions, the Space Marine equivalents, are all coming back in one form or another. My favorite ones, the Beastmen characters, Kazric the One.
I'm sure they're all dead.
They're not coming back. I still have all those models. If you want to talk about model invalidation, I literally, in my display case, have all of my Beastmen hero characters that will never exist.
I had 5,000 points of Tomb Kings.
Yeah, true. Talk about.
And did you sell them for the right price or the wrong price?
Oh, the wrong price.
I'm so sorry.
Literally, the Tomb Kings got me into 40k.
Oh, okay. I'm happy then.
Was it a good deal financially? I'm going to say no, but it got me into 40k. Or back into, because I played before, but then I was playing fantasy because it was cool.
I never really got into fantasy. I just did a small Sigmar kick between 7th and 8th. But I'm sticking 40k up until 9th edition, and almost certainly through it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to have to give it a shot. Anyway, I've got too much riding along.
Heck yeah, that's the spirit.
Now with all of the Necron stuff, I've always wanted to build a Necron army, and I have a bunch of it. At this point, with how many new releases they have, it's unusual for Games Workshop to come out with more than one, maybe two kits. When replenishing an army, you could make an entire army out of the new stuff that they're launching. Like,
Oh yeah, there's an
They're
insane amount of Necrons coming.
They kind of, because Necrons are similar to what they've been producing for Sigmar. Just the aesthetic is similar, not the same obviously, but it has a lot of similar feel to the Bone Reapers, the Night Hunt, like those new model lines. You're dealing with undead. So I think their design team was comfortable doing that. The Necrons have a small model line as it is. They needed some bloat, more or less. So it was the perfect army for them to just blow up because their design team's used to it, and the army needed it. Yeah. So I don't expect this treatment to every army in the game, but Necrons were definitely due for it.
Yeah, like they're becoming kind of like half flagship, along with, of course, Space Marines for 9th edition. I wonder if they're going to try to keep up a little bit with other armies, like if everybody's going to get at least some new models. But it definitely seems interesting.
My thought too is like Chaos were the big baddies of 8th edition, and we got a ton of Chaos love, new models. Chaos was constantly like a competitive army. They're going to do that with Necrons, I think, for 9th, because it's Xenos' turn, and Eldar have been pretty strong consistently. Like, Necrons have never been the army of 8th edition. Like, they've been good here and there, but they've just never been the army. And almost every other army in the game has been. I think Sisters of Battle would have been right now in 8th edition, but obviously the Rona happened. But I do think that they're going to make Necrons, like you said, kind of the flagship enemy, and Sisters of Battle Space Marines are going to be the flagship good guys, because you're always going to have Space Marines, but I think they are pushing the new Sisters of Battle, as we saw in that trailer.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm excited for, because if that means more Sisters rules, more Sisters models, all of that, then I am all on board, because I have gone heavy into this Sister of Battle plastic line. A little too heavy, maybe. Yeah, it's so good. I'm very pleased that I did this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Still painting it all.
Yeah, and don't worry, my buggies, I'll get them back when they're no longer good.
That's exactly when. Yep.
Well, speaking of all these model things, in the meantime, would it be a good time to transition into what hobby things you're doing? Maybe we can move into more. I wonder how many people are going to be like raging by this point in the podcast. 42 minutes in, probably 36 minutes of that has been hatred.
No, I'm trying to be optimistic here. I'm very excited for 9th edition. I think 8th edition was the best thing that happened to the game, and I'm hoping that GW learned positive things from doing that, and they've worked to, not literally perfect it, but to improve the product. And like, if you look at the growth the game had from 7th to 8th, if they can keep that kind of momentum up, then 8th, 9th will hopefully just be even better. And, so I'm excited. I think that, like, an edition change is inevitable. Like, we always know it is going to come. It's just kind of when is it going to come? In this case, it happened to be because we were most comfortable, or were we most comfortable because there was an edition change coming? Chicken egg. Mm-hmm. Hard to say which beget which.
Yeah, and honestly, the timing for this one actually is really good, because as soon as they announce it, everyone just wants to stop until that new edition gets there, because no one wants to play something that's about to be invalidated. So honestly, right now is the best time to release the new edition, because nothing's going on anyway. So when we restart, we might as well restart with new rules. So I for as much as I'm complaining, I'm going to be right back at every single event as soon as I can. It's just change equals complaints.
Yeah, and that's just, that's always how it's going to be. I try to keep them to a minimum, but, I'm sure there will be a couple things in the new edition that I don't like. I'm sure there'll be some things I do like. And after 6 months, I'm going to forget half of the rules from 8th edition, and that'll be it.
Yeah. So I do almost like a bad acid trip, randomly forget how to do an 8th edition psychic phase and try to do it 7th edition style. And I'm like, what just happened? That, mm-hmm. As long as I've played Chaos, that will always happen, and just randomly, or even
start generating dice.
Yeah, exactly. Once I even fell back to 6th edition, I was like, wait, do I need to take a leadership test to be able to do this? It's what? No. Leadership tests don't even exist.
That's a bad break right there.
Yeah, because just for me, I've always played psychic armies, so I don't know. That's the one rule that I'll just randomly. Which edition of psychic am I doing right now?
That's funny. Well, yeah. I'm sure that'll happen for the first couple months, but that won't be a big deal. I think everyone's going to do that, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to screw up psychic and chaos forever. Anyways, Jimmy was wanting to talk about some hobby updates.
Yeah.
I'll do mine first. I haven't paid in anything Warhammer related in about a month, not since I got into my coconut crab tyranids, because I've been painting D&D miniatures because I can play D&D right now. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I'll
Jimmy,
post pictures.
have you?
Sorry, I'll share pictures because I'm super proud of how some of them came out. So, you know. And I'll post pictures. I'll send them into the group chat and then no one will post them, as per usual.
I'll post them. You guys just have to remind me and we'll get it done.
Yeah.
All right. Jimmy, have you been working on much?
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Well, I was working on the Achilles Ridge Runners. Yeah. So I was working on those guys, and I actually got my desk set up in a really nice way with little Citadel paint racks and all that kind of stuff. And I was getting really into the swing of it for probably a day or two before anybody was like, "Hey, are you ready for that release on Saturday?" And then at that point, I've pretty well ended because I don't know if the Ridge Runners will be relevant by then. So I recently got a 3D printer, and I have subscribed to a bunch of people on Patreon who basically every month, $10 a month or whatever, they release a bunch of themed printable objects or whatever. So I've been printing those out, painting those guys. So like little mushroom people or, like turtle characters for D&D and all that kind of stuff. So that's been my trip recently. That poor printer's been running 24/7, but we had a storm today. The power just flickered off and turned off the printer halfway through a print. So I actually have to get in there and clean everything out because that actually gets stuff stuck in there. So
Ooh. Does that just ruin the print? You have to just start over?
Yeah, the print was halfway through, and at that point, once it turns back on, you can just hit start print, and it would try to start from the beginning. So you actually have to remove all the pieces that it already built because they won't be able to keep going. It's useless.
Oh, dang, that's unfortunate.
So it didn't take much resin to do, but yeah, it is a lot of time in cleaning and stuff, a fair amount of time. So it's not a big deal, but it was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I have been painting quite a bit, actually. Definitely more than normal. So part of it is that I have recently moved to I'm not going to say lovely, but it is a city of Tallahassee. And I'm working with the Art of War as a coach. I think that's old news, but I'm trying to get more stuff painted because we like to have fully painted armies and well-painted armies for our paint stream. And I'm also trying to kind of touch up some of my older stuff to maybe make it look a little more stream friendly, make it look a little better. So I have been painting a lot. I've been painting Sisters and Gene Stealer Cult primarily. I'm actually painting as we record a Goliath truck. Not because the Goliath truck is a good unit or anything that I wish it was, mostly just because it has been on my paint desk for a very long time, as in possibly 4 years without me actually having used it. I just kind of built it, magnetized it once, I think in 7th edition. And I don't want to let this guy go from 7th edition to 9th edition without getting painted. So we're getting him done today. But I've been painting a lot of Sisters. I got my basic Battle Sisters done. I built a lot of Seraphim. That's probably going to be the next Sisters thing I paint. I painted all 3 Mortifiers. Mortifiers were super fun. So I'm trying to be productive. And I've painted a lot of other Gene Stealer Cult, a lot of infantry. I'm painting a new 2nd Gene Stealer Cult army because when I painted them, it was kind of the last thing I painted before I learned a lot of techniques that greatly improved my skills. So I feel bad that they are not as good looking as they could be. But then some of the stuff that I've added, my Ridge Runners actually do look quite good. So it feels weird having kind of ugly infantry next to pretty looking vehicles. So I'm just redoing all of the infantry for Gene Stealer Cult, and that is a very time consuming project. but we're getting there. I think so far I've painted just like 20 acolytes, 20 neophytes, and a couple characters. But I'm just kind of grinding, just getting like 10 guys done a week or so, and eventually that means I'll have the whole horde done. And I'm excited for that point.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of half-painted Genestealer cults sitting, doing nothing.
Yeah. I also ordered an airbrush in the anticipation that once 9th edition comes out, everything that I painted was wrong, but I'll still be glad that I painted it because I'll have less of a gray pile of shame. Just kind of trying to shrink that. But, anytime there's an edition change, I always end up getting new units, new models, maybe a new army, whatever it may be. But I'm going to want to get it painted fast. I'm going to want to kind of get it looking good as fast as possible. And I think it's time for me to invest in an airbrush because I've finally hit the point in life where time is less valuable than money. Where instead of I'll just sit for, 40 hours painting termagants, it's like, no, I'll spend the money to not do that now. So I am ready to not have to, I'm ready to not have to deal with that. So an airbrush will be much appreciated. Just got to learn how to use it. I've heard it's like, actually, it looks complicated. Like as someone who has no experience with airbrushing, just kind of begged some friends to help me once or twice. I've heard it's a lot easier than it looks. So I'm excited to kind of test it out. I'll probably test it out on a couple random models. Like I have a couple old rhinos that are like missing tread pieces and kind of scraped up and ugly. And I bought a used Chimera once that I think can't actually be legally fielded. I'll probably use that for some practice before I go to town on anything I want painted. But I'm still excited for it.
Yeah, basically all you got to do is make sure you get your paint thickness right and clean it, and you're good.
All right, I'm going to try.
And you're set.
Yeah, I've just got to get that thinner.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about all I've had. They've talked about some 9th edition rules. We probably will dive into those a little deeper in a future episode once we've had a little more. I will touch on one thing that I really like that they did and a mild complaint about it just to keep in theme of the episode. So something that they've said is that they are capping modifiers at maximum of -1, maximum of +1. Which sounds good because let's be honest here, we all hated shooting at -2 to hit flyers. And also, in conjunction with that, they have said that a 6 to hit will always hit.
So hopefully orcs get army-wide exploding 6s, because otherwise...
You mean what they already have?
Well, yes, but something in it.
So one
thing... You're taking one of their main special rules.
Yeah, one thing about wording, because it's technically from different sources that modify somebody's ballistic skill, but what if you have a vehicle that moves with a heavy weapon and then shoots at a flyer? Is it still
my
net
complaint.
-1, or is that...
Yeah.
So...
I haven't seen the actual rule yet. That's just something I said on the stream today. But I'm hoping that it's something like enemy modifiers are capped at -1 or +1.
Yeah.
But
maybe it'll
because I think if I stay still and shoot at a flyer, even if it's a light talk, -1 to hit is cool. I'm totally fine with that. But if I am on the move, I feel like that's my own fault. I'm okay with taking a -2 to hit because I moved. I could have held still. I just chose to move.
It's going to make the flyer benefit basically useless because most of the stuff you're going to be shooting at, it's going to be heavy anyway. So that
it's going to just make people move.
Yeah, you're making your enemy more mobile because they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, which is kind of a bizarre situation. So we'll see what develops. We'll see what the actual rule says. It may say something along the lines of enemy modifiers. They may have already considered that. Maybe they'll kind of FAQ to clarify that. Maybe that'll be a chapter-approved update in the future. I have no idea. We'll just kind of see what happens.
It could work like advantage and disadvantage in D&D, where no matter how many instances of one or the other, once you're affected by both, the effects go away. And if you have 17 +1s, you still only get the +1. If you have 17 -1s, and then if you have 17 -1s and 1 +1, the effects are negated and you just shoot at normal ballistic skill.
Oh, that would be weird. Yeah. But I guess it's possible.
Because that would be the one other thing that I'd wonder is if you have something that gives you a +1 and then you cast a spell that gives you another +1 to...
And then they have a -1?
Somebody have a -1. Yeah, how does it come back to net 1 or does it only count as 1 +1 and 1 -1? I wonder. Yeah,
only the future can tell.
That's like barely a release because it brings up more questions than it answers.
Yeah, that's just because we're all very curious people, and we're addicts. We just want more.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we are not going to find out more anytime soon. So, we'll hopefully find out stuff in like early June or something. I don't know exactly when we're going to start getting those good GW articles that start telling us rules. And I don't know when 9th edition's coming out, but we'll find out together.
Yeah. Well, while all this is happening, perhaps I can get Dan to play a different game with me. Just one match, Dan.
Sounds heretical.
Blood and
What are you trying to
Water is a
learn
pirate
into?
game. It's taken a real long time, and Dan said he'd play with me forever ago, but hasn't come to fruition.
I've heard Blood and Plunder is good. I think it's run by like down in Miami.
Yeah, it was created in Miami. I actually ran into it for the first time in Philadelphia at PAX Unplugged, and I'd been looking for like a pirate or boat themed game, and it's 28mm, like big old ships manned by crews, and you could play on the water or on the land, or you can like anchor the boat and take a long boat to land and have soldiers run around and stuff. It's pretty intricate. I've spent like too much money on it. I own so much shit that has literally been played once. Like I played once as a practice game with one other person. So
sounds like Dan owes you a game.
I'm excited. Maybe this corona outbreak may be good for something. A game of Blood and Plunder.
All right. Well,
yeah, I'm just going to be playing League of Legends.
Nerds.
I've already been disappointed.
I'm resisting the video game urge.
Good man.
I've
started trying to write again.
Fully embraced it.
Trying to write
that's
some
kinda
books.
cool.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, keep it going.
Well, motivation's not a strong point for me, but
Yeah.
I feel like if I don't do it right now when I'm stuck at home, I'm never going to do it. So
Get pitter patter. Let's get at her. All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good note to end on. Well, I'm sure by the time next episode comes out, we will have many rules to discuss and all the fun things, and I am very excited for that because I love me some 40k rules. I love talking new stuff, so we'll get there soon. The AdMech stuff has been is going up on pre-order on Saturday. They've started to leak it. It looks pretty cool, but honestly, it's just hard to talk about when there's 9th edition coming. So we'll see what happens there. But it makes me happy that GW is releasing new products again, because that is something that I dearly miss. I miss those new world jitters. So we'll get on with that. Yeah. Anyone else have anything else?
I'm sorry to everybody for my burning rage.
No, Jimmy. No.
Right.
You don't need to apologize for anything. You kneel for no one.
Oh, thanks. True, I take that back. Fuck you.
Oh shoot! That was the one F-bomb we got to use before we became R-rated.
Oh,
well done.
You're welcome.
I dropped that earlier in the exact same episode, just so you're aware.
Whatever. Fuck it.
Goodbye.
Right. Well, check us out next time. Thank you so much to everyone who listened. If you enjoyed it, certainly let us know. Send us a message. All of the good stuff. Thanks for reaching out to those of you who have sent us messages. And goodbye.
See ya.